Today's episode is brought to you by Patreon supporter John Peters. If you'd like to learn how you can support the podcast through a small recurring monthly donation, just log on to schooloflaughs.com/PATREON. Thanks, John.
Welcome to the School of Laughs podcast, brought to you by schooloflaughs.com. Whether you're an aspiring comedian, a part-time pro, or a speaker who wants to become funnier, this is the podcast for you. We'll break down tools, tips, and techniques to help you get bigger, better, and more bookable. And now, here's the show.
Thanks again to John Peters and all of the Patreon supporters for making this podcast happen. And thanks to everyone who's taken the online class. Shout out to all you guys for making this happen too. Without all that coming in, then none of this is going out. So hopefully the transaction is worth your while and you're picking up some tips along the way. Also, a quick shout out to Bet Logden, or it could be Betty Logden, out in Portland, Oregon. Thanks for the email you sent recently. Glad you're digging the podcast and getting something out of the insider tip sheet as well. And always good to hear from people that are on the other end of the emails and the podcast. So never feel like you're bothering me by shooting me an email. Love to hear from you. Hey, today I've got a fun podcast episode with my good buddy Josh Novey, who lives in the middle of the heartland, the breadbasket, the cornfields, the Iowa, the Des Moines. That's right. He's out there in the middle, and he talks about, kind of not the struggle, but the need to create your own opportunities in areas where there's not as much going on. He started comedy about 7 years ago in Gainesville, Florida, before moving to Des Moines, and is now getting ready to move somewhere else, as you'll hear in the podcast. So a lot of fun. I think you're going to dig this episode, and Josh is a good guy with a lot going on, and hopefully a lot more going on. So without further ado, let's jump right into it. Here is Josh Novey. How's it going there, Josh?
Hey, Rick, it's going pretty great right now, actually. It's a beautiful day out, and I am enjoying it.
Yeah, well, you're a pretty busy guy these days, so I thought I'd kind of grab you before you got so busy you wouldn't have time for us little podcasters. Yeah, that's cool, man. Well, I appreciate you doing it. And we have a lot of mutual friends, a lot of friends that listen to podcasts that know you, but I also know for sure there's a lot that don't know about you and don't get to your neck of the woods very much. So I thought I'd kind of pick your brain a little bit today, and you can kind of let us know what's going on in the part of the world you're in right now, and then we can talk about where you're headed next in a minute. So what's the scene like there in the Des Moines area, open mic wise, and then the club?
So the scene is very similar to most other scenes where it's, there's a small group of guys who get together and talk about their genitals, and then then they laugh at it, and then so that's every scene I've been to in the United States. Every time I go to an open mic, it's the same guy. So
it's like fourth grade all over again, isn't it?
Yeah, it really is. You go in there and you're like, I could have sworn I heard this joke in Tallahassee last night. Oh yeah, I did, because it's the same thing. So
yeah,
but they're good. They're a good group of guys here. We have a lot of really good talent that comes out of Des Moines. Unfortunately, one of the things about Des Moines is that when you get to a certain point, you have to sort of move on. So
right.
There's no up. Like we have a funny bone here, and very few people work for the funny bone here. So they had a rift a few years ago between the funny bone and the local scene. I wasn't a part of that, but they don't really work with the local guys anymore.
Gotcha. So a lot of the headliners are bringing their own feature, and then they're getting their MCs from out of town as well.
Yeah, actually, there's only like 4 or 5 MCs. We're all in the area, but I think everybody that is a MC at the Funny Bone here in Des Moines is actually a professional comic.
Gotcha.
And so the lady Alicia who runs it, she's very, very nice, and she lets us just come in when we have an off weekend. We can come and make some money while we're here.
That's great. And then for folks that are way out on both of the coast, Des Moines is kind of in between a couple of others, way in between, a couple of hours from other spots. Omaha's not too far. I know you get up there once in a while, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I go to Omaha, where Des Moines is strategically located in between Omaha, Minneapolis, Kansas City, and then Chicago. So we're actually in a really good spot for for traveling as a comedian.
Well, that's cool. So you're there in Des Moines. You're doing your thing. And how long have you been at it total?
See, I'm 7.5 years ish. Yeah, it's about 7.5, almost 8 years now. And
That's
then I really lucked out. So a couple years ago, well, I think it was the first time we met. I was going to my first CCA conference, and that conference I lucked out because Nazareth did a breakout session about how to get booked, and he did this whole thing. And all I did, I wrote down everything Nazareth said. That was the beginning of June, and so that was 2015. By the end of July, I put everything that he said to do into practice, and by the end of July, I was working as a full-time comic.
No, it's awesome. I'll have to pass that on. I'm sure you've told him, but I'll
Yeah,
remind.
I told him that, and but I was like, that's for when people ask me about the CCA and what and the benefits of being a CCA member. Of course, you have you're saved, which is the number one. But then I think that the biggest benefit for us is that we share the knowledge instead of keeping it to ourselves and being very introverted with all that knowledge. We like share it. We want to see other people succeed too. So
Yeah, I mean, if we're all doing shows and there's more shows to refer to other people to do more shows, and if we're doing good shows, then it'll multiply out for sure.
yeah, exactly. It's like I can't remember some. It's not like we're all scared about somebody taking our piece of the pie, but if we all work together, there's going to be more pie.
Yeah, that's the National Speakers Association. That's their mantra: grow the pie bigger instead of just trying to get your slice and get out of there. Because if there's more pie, I guess we all get diabetes. I'm not sure what happens in the end, but I'm not opposed to eating more pie. Is all I'm saying.
I think I've eaten my share of pie for the year last week. So
Yeah, no kidding, man. What was there one piece of advice that you found the most helpful from Nazareth that you put into use that you're like, man, that was crucial, and that's helped me get to this point of being full time?
yeah, the number one thing that I realize is that the harder I work, the more I'm blessed.
Mm-hmm.
So and I just found that if I work 10% harder than other people, then I found that I get blessed 200%. So I just found if I spend an hour a day working on the business side of comedy, I was just God took over and made it unbelievable. So
Yeah, there's no substitute for extra work.
yeah. I think that was the number one. It was just like how much that you have to treat it like a business. We all just want to goof off and do all that stuff. But then then sometimes you gotta do taxes.
Yeah,
Which sucks.
there's times where I spent more than a decade just goofing off, and I think about all those days and hours and free time I had. Now that I've got a family and kids, I'm like, oh gosh, I wish I had that time back and had somewhat of the head knowledge I have now, and could have made a big difference. But I'm not complaining. I'm happy where I'm at, and it keeps getting better. But yeah, you're smart at a younger age, earlier in, to realize the off stage time is work time, and then the show is the show
Yeah.
time.
Yeah. I was telling somebody this the other day is that, especially in Iowa. So I started my comedy career in Gainesville, Florida, and went in a small scene down there. And actually, there's 5 or 6 of us that are professional comedians out of a scene of about 15, which I think is a pretty good.
That's a great ratio.
Yeah. And so, but that one of the things that we did was we all worked together. And when people talk about the bigger cities, they always talk about coming up in the comedy clubs and doing all these other things. And I think that moving to Iowa actually helped me out immensely because, everybody talks about you have to work your way up the ladder, but in Iowa, there's no ladder. And so not only do you have to build your own ladder, you have to build your own tools to make the ladder. So,
yeah, that's a good point. Like Iowa, there may not be a ladder. There's a grain elevator. I know that. Couple of them.
Yeah.
But yeah, you went out and hustled and I remember talking to you a few years back, and you were putting together some of your own shows and getting some of the marketing stuff and the approach and the first letter to the different groups kind of honed and getting that wording the way that works. And you put on
Hmm.
a lot of shows there, which is another great way for comics to kind of get their own foot in the door in places nobody else is getting them in.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, if you have a small scene or your comedy sort of fits outside of whatever the regular scene is. Yeah, if you just put on your own show. If nobody's booking you, book yourself.
And how many comics do you have in the Des Moines area that you feel like you can kind of bounce ideas off of and help out as well? Like, you have a core group of buddies there?
Oh yeah, yeah. We have a smaller scene, so I think there's probably people that come out on a regular basis, probably 20 to 25 comedians that come out on a regular basis to open mics. And then as far as people that I feel comfortable bouncing ideas back off, probably 4 or 5. But that includes, of course, the guys that have done so much for me as far as like professional comics go, like John Bush, Willie Farrell, those guys that took me under the wings, especially when I was first starting out here, taking me on the road with them. So
Yeah,
those
I
are the
know.
guys that I trust the most.
And Willie would let you ride in his trunk, I'm sure, a few gigs.
Oh yeah.
If there wasn't some other bodies in there already.
Yeah, yeah. He said, "Get in the trunk. I'm too fat. I don't fit." I don't. It's That's a very specific joke that nobody's gonna get. So that's great. I love that.
Yeah, although Willie's been around for a long time, there'll be some people who know, oh, Willie Farrell. That's great, man. Well, I saw that and this is what kind of provoked me to kind of get you on the horn here before it got away from me, is you spent some time, spent some resources to get a DVD put together, and it looks
Yeah.
like, is that finished product, or you were just teasing out a couple of videos from the DVD?
It's pretty much finished, and I lucked out because one of my buddies is a professional videographer, filmographer, cinematographer, whatever the name is, and he had all the equipment, and so we just wanted to make a DVD. So we rented out the school theater here in Des Moines, and we did it was a 5 camera shoot, and not because of me, but the DVD looks amazing because
It does look really. It looks lush.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like the colors,
again,
the curtains, everything really looked really sharp.
They're really sharp, and then like you can even watch. He even brought like the jib out there, and so he had these panning frames, and I was like, this is unnecessary but amazing. I'm grateful for it. So
That's pretty cool. Well, can you give us a couple of tips on pre-planning that DVD and how that went well and helped you save some time, and then also anything after the fact you wish you would have done that other people should be aware of?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think the number one thing is that I planned it for, I want to say 3 or 4 months before we even shot the DVD, and everything was planned to a T. And of course, everything went awry the day of, but that happens.
Give me a couple of examples.
So this number one example, and I'll tell you, and you can tell by my voice in the video, is that when I shot the video, I had strep throat and laryngitis.
Yeah,
so I was on I was on antibiotics, and I was like, I drank I think about 4 cups of throat coat before I went out.
Yeah. If people out there don't know about throat coat, it's a great tea. You can usually find it at most of your Walgreens, CVS type places, but if you can order it online, and that stuff that works miracles to kind of calm down the soreness and open up your throat a little bit.
Oh, I know. Yeah, it has. I can't remember what it's called. It has like some slippery eel bark or something like that. That does something weird to your throat. But it gets you through it. It's not going to make you better, but it gets you through an hour. Of talking.
What's funny is when I did my bananas episode way back in the day, I had the same deal. Strep throat was just bronchitis and strep throat at the same time. I hadn't slept in 2 days, and there I am, having to get up at 5:30 to go do radio all the way through the full day of shooting sides and extras, and then the show itself. And I look back at that, I'm like, how did I even get through that thing?
Yeah. Yeah.
But
I just you don't see this on the film, but I left the stage and I went backstage and I collapsed because I was done. I was absolutely done. So yeah, that's what one of the things that we talk about is that no matter how much you plan for something, there's something that's going to be outside of your control.
yeah, do you think your system got worn down with stress in the days leading up to it, which enabled you to get strep throat? I'm just curious.
I think so, and because I think I had strep throat for about I had strep throat for about 4 or 5 days beforehand, and then the day before, then I got laryngitis, and so the day of, I was trying to not talk to anybody, which was difficult when you're trying to run a TV. So, yeah, it was fun. It was fun, but we got through it, and actually, I was listening to a podcast with Sarah Silverman, and I think she was on Pete Holmes, but she was talking about how her DVD, she had almost the exact same thing happen, where except for they paid $75,000 for her
Right.
taping, so a little bit different. But she talked about how she they wanted to see if she wanted to redo the whole DVD, and it just didn't make sense. And I was almost going to do the same thing, but I was like, if Sarah Silverman cannot do it, then I'm probably okay.
Yeah, I'm thinking of Michael Jordan when he had the flu and he poured in like 52 points or something in the playoff game.
Yeah.
And then he went back and just threw up and collapsed when he was done. I think he was actually throwing up during timeouts. He was like throwing up in a bucket and then going back out.
He was, and yeah. That's the flu game, and then that's why I want people to remember me like that. I want to be the fat white Michael Jordan of comedy. That's what I want to be remembered as.
Well, you're not the only one, my friend. There's a few out. No, that's great, man. So, and then so you produced it independently. Are you releasing it through anything, or having anybody help distribute it, or doing it off your website as a download? What are your distribution options?
So with the audio, I just took the audio from the DVD and to make the audio album, and then I turned those into I made download cards with little QR codes, that so people can just buy them at my shows, download a quick thing. And then the DVD itself, I have the two options. I have they can buy it digitally, which I can send them a digital code, or I'm looking at I have to go I'm getting some physical ones made. Not too many because nobody buys DVDs anymore, and I'm looking at a couple of different streaming services as far as trying to get it on Amazon Prime and Netflix and Hulu and all that stuff. And that's the biggest challenge for me right now, is trying to figure out what service to go to and how much money do I want to give up, or do I want to put money up front to pay for a service to put it on, and then so. That's a whole nother level of stuff I never thought I would have to go through.
Yeah, that's interesting. There are a lot of different ways you can approach it. If you found an option that was more of you give up maybe a slightly higher percentage as the downloads come and not too much in advance, that's probably the best way to go. And then you sign on to that for as short as amount of time as you can to see if it works, and it works for you, and then take it from there. But that's great that you've got not only, of course, the DVD is a great thing for fans and to get a following going, but now you've got a lot of great clips, high quality clips you can start promoting yourself with more and more.
Yeah, actually, I think I got it done last week was when it was finally finished, and I've already used clips off of that to help book shows, and it's been unbelievable. And just having that super high quality, the difference it makes between that and having even like a nice camcorder, there's a complete difference in having a professional quality clip.
Yeah. And how much time did you do, and did you have any little extras that you cut out of the main DVD but made as extras or anything like that?
Yeah, so I did two shows that night. And
wait a second.
Yeah.
Michael Jordan only played one game. You played two games of strep throat.
I know that's what you guys do. So
Oh,
I did an early show and a late show, and on the late show I went first because I didn't want the crowd to be tired when I went up there.
ah,
So I did an hour, and we had I think a 30-minute break after everything was said and done, and then I went back out there half an hour later and went back up for another hour.
that's cool. Did you? I guess you had a couple of your local buddies do some time as well.
Oh yeah. It was great. That was one of the benefits of doing that was I had 4 people on each show, and I give them all 5 to 7 minutes, and giving them a chance to have that professional DVD quality clip they can give the festivals and stuff was a big sell for them. So
Yeah,
you know yeah, it was amazing. So I had and I was it was something nice I could do. I had 4 people on each show. And they all did great, and it was amazing. So, yeah. So what I did? So I did about an hour on each show, and then I think there's only of the second show. I think we only used a few minutes of the second show, and somewhere in the middle, I think there was some audio issues. So I think that the DVD length right now is 45 minutes.
gotcha.
So we took out the ones that I didn't like and how I didn't like if I had a weird face when I was saying something, or if I didn't like the crowd's reaction.
Yeah,
We can always edit it and make me look funnier. So
there you go. That's cool, man. And I know that all this is part of just uh, getting deeper into comedy and being more committed to it. And it sounds like you're getting ready to move as well. Is that right?
I am, yeah. I'm getting ready. Next month, I'm moving to LA because
That's
I can't wait. I'm going to become a disappointment on the coast. That's what I'm looking for.
disappointing people from
Yeah,
Iowa
yeah.
all the way to California.
It's gonna be my new bio. This man has made tons of people from coast to coast hate his comedy. So just
Well, that's cool. What is the initial plan? Do you have a roommate where you'll be able to get a room, or are you gonna go out there on your
yeah.
own? What's the scoop?
Yeah, so I'm renting a room out just to start out with for the first few months, just to kind of get settled in and see how I like it and what areas I like, and then I'll probably get a little studio apartment. Because I'm sure but the difference in price between Des Moines and LA is a little bit radical.
Yeah. What did you find?
So
Like double or triple?
Oh, so actually, what I'm paying right now for a 4-bedroom house in Des Moines with a huge backyard and a huge front yard, I'll be paying more for a studio apartment in LA.
Yep. So are you downsizing a little bit, or have you been pretty
Yep.
selling some things off?
Yeah, just trying to selling my plasma, whatever I can to make money. And just trying to get rid of as much stuff as possible. I think is it Derek Tennant? Isn't that the one who he only has like 7 shirts total?
Oh yeah, Derek Tennant with the 7 shirts, the T-shirts that he travels with.
Yeah, that's like the goal. I can't. That's amazing to me. Just imagine not having stuff.
Yeah, it's mind-boggling to me. After you settle down for a while and you got kids, just like I'm constantly giving away the kids stuff, but I have a hard time parting with mine. Although last weekend I finally threw out some VHS tapes and stuff that I used to send to bookers, but
How
I just
could
thought
you do those? Are collectibles, Rick. Those are collectibles.
I kept one of everything,
Okay.
but there was a lot of everything. So I still have a small closet full of stuff that I'm not even interested in looking at. I'm not sure why I still have it. That's great, man. So you're headed out there. Have you been out there before? Did you go out there for one of the clean comedy conferences or anything?
Yeah, I did. I've been out there a few times for different shows, and then back in August I went out there for the clean comedy competition that Leslie Townsend puts on. And it was great. And it was amazing. You make amazing friends. You get to meet some great people. I got to hang out with Jimmy Brogan and talk to Jan Smith from the Ice House. And that was one of the things that made me decide to move to LA was that I did really well. And not only do I have a lot of friends in LA already, but I also heard from people that have been established in the comedy for a long, long time told me that I need to, go ahead and make that jump and try to get out of Des Moines for a little bit at least.
Yeah. Are you going to pursue any commercial work, acting, any kind of that stuff, or just a little bit of everything and see what sticks?
Yeah, that's kind of it. I hope to be the next Billy Gardell. I'm just looking for a TV show that wants a fat white guy to put on
Right.
and pay me a lot of money. That's the dream, I think. But in the end, I think I'm just like everybody. Everybody else. Like I'm addicted to stand up,
Mm-hmm.
and no matter what happens, I'm still gonna go out on the road and make a fool of myself.
Yeah, and that's the thing too. You'll have to hit the road to pay the bills back home because the LA sets will be, small pay if any, and lots of them. So
I
you'll,
know.
sounds like you've got enough gigs you're doing now. You'll be able to come back to, and you'll start cranking frequent flyer miles and some of that stuff, getting back and forth.
That's the sad part is I already have a bunch of stuff booked in Midwest, and so I'm moving to LA, and then like 2 weeks later I'm coming back just to go work, anyways. So,
Well, that's okay. I mean, be thankful for that because you'll find out there'll be some paying work here and there after you get your roots in the ground a little bit, but the stuff back home is good, and you may appreciate it more after you go out there for a little while. Like, oh man, okay, I see what's going on here.
yeah. That's the scary thing for me going out there is one, you got to start all over again. I think they talk about everybody that leaves their scenes. They're the best of the scene, but then you go out to LA and you're hanging out with 1,000 of the other best of their scenes.
Yeah, so go from being a big fish in a small pond to a small fish in a wildfire.
Yeah. Yeah.
Watch out for the mudslide and everything else. Well, that's cool, man. Well, I'm excited for you. I'm glad I got a chance to catch up with you a little bit before you headed out there. I guess I should ask you really quickly, too. I looked at your website before I got in touch with you today, and it looks really cool. I like the flow of it. It looks great on digital as well, but I couldn't see like what the platform was, how what you used to design it. Was that just a platform you could sign up for online, or did you have that custom made?
Actually, yeah, it's Squarespace, but then I hired a graphic designer to make it for me.
Smart.
Yeah, so I paid. I paid him a couple $100. A kid from a college paid him a couple $100. They already had all the stuff in there because there's stuff that I'm not good at, and anything with design or colors or picking out clothing is not my forte, and I just let other people do that. So.
Well, that's cool. I just want to say it looks good and really crisp and clean. I like that. Doesn't have a lot of extra stuff you don't need. It's got the nuts and bolts of what people are looking for when they come to find you.
Yeah. I think for me, I think my next one, because Johnny W's website is I think is one of the best websites out there, and I'm not sure exactly where he got it from, but I look at his and like that.
You would want to talk to Marty Simpson.
Oh, Marty, man. Okay.
Yeah. Yep. He's the man behind the website that you're talking about. But yeah, that's cool. The one thing I might suggest, I wasn't on there a super long time, but a pop-up to get some email addresses on there. If you don't have that plug-in, I would find one to get.
Oh. Yeah, that's actually really smart. I'm gonna redo because we did that website about a year ago, so it's about time to update it. And that's really smart because I want to put because I was going to put a merchandise tab on there to sort of put people towards buying stuff or that's really smart.
That's cool. I'll throw this out there, although I don't use them yet. There's a good merchandise platform called Selz, SELZ.
Okay.
And that's what you'll see on Johnny W's and Marty's website. And they take a percentage. There's a monthly fee based on how many items you have in the store, but they handle all the transactions and all that stuff, so you don't have to worry about the tech side of dealing with all that stuff. And it might be worth looking into. And you could also, as part of that, I'm not sure exactly the rates and all that, but have a free download on there as well. So you might have a free download for event planners that you send a link to.
Yeah.
That is
that's pretty easy because that's what I did with the album is I was looking at different options, and one of them was drop cards, but of course you have to pay 50 cents per drop card you get. And I was looking at how to do it. I was like, I could upload this to a website, and then I could just create a QR code on a business card that does the same thing for 5 cents. And so that's, I mean, don't tell people how much I paid for everything, because I'm going to ask them for $10 anyways. But but I was looking at, I can save X amount of money, because that's like the poor side of me coming out. I was like, I need to save as much money as possible.
Well, you do. I mean, you're going to be going to where things are more expensive. So, have thick skin when it comes to people making fun of you for saving $1 here and there, because $1 here and there is more like $5 there than it is. Well, that's cool, man. Let everybody know your website, and if you're active on Twitter or Facebook, let them know that too, and I'll link to those in the show notes.
Sure. Yeah, my website is just www.joshnovey.com, and I'm active on Facebook, Facebook/Josh Novey, and then you'll never guess this. My Twitter is also /Josh Novey. I'm very original.
Hey, no, that's great. You had all those available, and it's Novey for people that are listening as they drive or on the treadmill. So very cool, Josh. Well, I'll be keeping tabs on you, and I'll be putting this podcast out soon with all your links. Feel free to share it with your buddies, and everybody listening, go check out Josh's clips and check out that high quality DVD that he shot. It's good stuff, buddy.
All right, buddy. Thanks so much for having me on your show.
All right. Take care. Thank you. Hope you enjoyed that episode with my good buddy Josh. As you can tell, he takes the comedy thing seriously and is moving step by step towards his goal of being even more full-time and more West Coast as he's headed out that way. Just knocked out his DVD, which also the audio can be ripped into a CD, and just doing things the right way, it sounds like. Hey, if you would like to be a guest on the podcast and you have a unique angle of what you could offer up as far as tips to help others from your experience, I'd be interested in getting an email from you, and we can discuss making that happen. You can always email me anytime about anything comedy related to schooloflaughs@gmail.com. But yeah, if you are in a niche, maybe you speak or you do comedy for a very specific bunch of folks that's of interest to me, I'd love to interview you about that. Maybe you're on the production end of things, or maybe you book shows, or maybe you're a booker or a promoter. Any of those things tied into comedy, I'd be interested in talking to you about. So shoot me an email, schooloflaughs@gmail.com. Getting ready to line up the interviews for the first part of next year, and I want to make sure I don't leave anybody out who's on the fence about maybe doing a podcast. I know I've heard from a couple of people already, and I'm going to keep on making that list a little bit bigger, and then in a couple of days just knock those things all out in early January. Thanks again for listening. If you're not taking advantage of the free insider tip sheet, shoot me an email, schooloflaughs@gmail.com, and ask to be on that. Basically, on the 1st and 15th of every month, you get a little nudge letting you know the new podcast episode is out. Also with that, you get up to 15 links to comedy articles across the internet, sometimes video stories on YouTube, all relating to comedy, comedians doing the great things, and sometimes some not great things out there that are hitting the news. And those stories are going to be there every 2 weeks for you, so you don't miss them. And it's all compiled for you by Brian Bates. All right. Thanks, Brian, for doing that, by the way. And thank you all for listening. Hope to catch you on the next episode. In between episodes here soon, I'm going to squeeze in a reissue of last year's Goals podcast. And I don't know if I'm going to update that or just re-release as it is, along with the Goals sheet, the worksheet that I sent out last year. A lot of people took advantage of that and have been asking me about doing that again. So be on the lookout for that coming up as you prepare to set your goals for 2018. Thanks again. Talk to you soon. Stay safe and stay funny.
Thanks for listening to the School of Laughs podcast. If you'd like to hear more School of Laughs podcasts, you can find them on iTunes and Stitcher.com. And don't forget to subscribe and leave a review. For information on upcoming live and online classes, visit schooloflaughs.com. Until next time, stay tuned, stay focused, and stay funny.